There are times in your career where sometimes you doubt your ability. Usually these moments come as you're prepping for massive events, maybe a gigantic home show with 20,000 plus registrants, and maybe having to be on stage in front of a whole bunch of people talking about the thing that you tell them you're an expert in. Well, instead of just talking about it, why don't I just show you? There's something that happens when you prep for a big event where the night before you feel like you are completely unprepared. We've done tons of events, from events with Scott McGilvery to Ryan Serhant and everything in between. And this is our first home show, so that feeling, it really hit hard last night. I was sitting down looking over everything in our project management software, the gear we have to bring, the schedule for the agents, the activations we're doing on site, the giveaways. It actually felt for the first time in probably the last decade that everything was handled. Our leadership team that we built over the last year had a huge part to play in that. It's not perfect. There's going to be speed bumps and we're going to have to make adjustments. But what I'm trying to tell you is preparing for an event can be absolutely overwhelming. So maybe think about the ecosystem you're in and the people around you that might be able to help you execute. Speaking of which, let's go execute. So this ain't what you see on TV, selling Sunset, maybe owning Manhattan, because that's the best real estate show on TV. But you got to do a lot of the work yourself when you're setting up. So I got the iMac, which is great for presentations. Wait till you see the setup that we're going to do once we actually get there. Should be fun. And there's Prime HQ. There's the Christmas tree. Our incredible office to the Western Fair Agriplex. For those of you watching this video that have no idea where we're located, Prime is headquartered in London, Ontario, and London, Ontario is right between Toronto and Detroit. It's the headquarters for our entire market, which is the greater London area. So think like almost Kitchener to Sarnia, Lake Erie to Lake Huron. Everything in between is growing outwards from where London is. London's absorbing a lot of secondary, tertiary markets. And think about it this way, like Kitchener is kind of like Mississauga now. London is kind of like what Kitchener used to be. St. Thomas is kind of like what London is. And same thing with Sarnia, right? Like as these markets are growing and developing, what used to be a small town is now turning into a bigger city. London proper itself is one of the most interesting towns. It's actually a test market for a lot of very large corporations. So they will test products in London because they have a captive audience that's very diversified. The McRib from McDonald's launched here before many other markets. It's a very interesting fact. From the real estate perspective, that's also very interesting. A lot of people think that we are merely a student rental town. I would actually say that makes up a pretty small portion of the overall investment market. We do have a lot of Class A agricultural land, a lot of commercial development, a lot of tech companies, and we also have a massive impact to the GDP in Canada, from manufacturing to technology to healthcare and sciences. We have world-class hospitals. Anyways, these are all things that I'm going to be talking about at the home show, and clearly I like my market. Probably biased, but we also have access to places like Grand Bend, Port Stanley, Lucan, Alvingston, Sarnia. I mean, yeah, it's a pretty great little playground. And part of my job at the home show this weekend is to help educate people on all of the different markets and options, and not be a salesperson because nobody wants to be sold, but everybody loves shopping with friends. So my goal is to make 22,000 new friends this weekend. So this is the Western Fair District. There's a racetrack, there's an agriplex. You'll see a lot of large scale events happening here. There's the sports center, tons of hockey games happening there. It looks like that's where the booth setup is going to be. Right, so I'm gonna go meet the Prime squad. Let's see what's going on with them. Get a little gander at the booth, shoot some content with our boy Nico and Prime Media Productions. I'm pretty excited. So I just noticed the doors are locked. So one tip when you're setting up for an event, don't carry all your stuff until you know the doors are open. Lana, do you know where I go inside? Giant win for the team again. They've told me where I need to go. You don't have to do everything yourself. Sometimes you do. Cool. So we're actually at the home show now. Now I gotta find the Prime booth. I see you, turn around. There's Nolan. as I'm actually walking up, he's behind me. So this will be fun. So when we got to the home show, we were absolutely shocked because there were no tables and we had to build the airplane while we were flying it. But the Prime Squad showed up and showed out and built one of the most incredible booths we could have imagined for this activation. We are at the London Lifestyle Home Show, one of the biggest conferences for real estate development and design, and Prime went all in this year. We came here, set up a booth for all of our divisions, which is investment, agriculture, luxury, new development, and all things real estate. Couldn't be happier to be here. The real exciting part is at 2 p.m. we are doing a panel discussion with some of the smartest minds in development, building, and lending, pulling back the curtain and talking about the real state of the real estate market. This should be a fun one. Imagine my surprise when we got asked to host the Prime People podcast live on stage at the event. The guys actually blew it out of the water. Shout out to Andrew Daw from Halcyon, a Tricar, and Kyle Henry from the CabCap Group. They absolutely crushed it.
So what does that look like? And I think the reason LHBA wanted to put this segment on with Halcyon and everybody else was to help give you insights into those backroom conversations and have a very raw and real conversation around the real estate market. So we're going to get right to it. And we're going to get into the state of the real estate market. So everybody's wondering what's really happening in the market right now. So I want to start off the panel by going through a little roundtable of what are you seeing. So I'll start with Andrew. Andrew, what are you seeing in the new construction market, and how are you guys feeling about the current market?
Yeah, that's a good question, Justin. A comparison to last year was pretty quiet. It was a challenge for, I think, everyone in the real estate industry. I think interest rates were high. Everything seemed very expensive. I don't know what's happened, but there has definitely been a shift in consumer sentiment. So right now we're seeing a lot more phone calls, a lot more activity even at events like this today. And I think the consumer is a lot more optimistic about housing in 2025 and 2026. I think a lot of people are getting off the sidelines. I think a lot of millennials and first-time home buyers are coming into the market. They've been doing the right thing. They've been saving their money. They've got good jobs, and they're gonna start buying some of this resale inventory. And then that allows people to jump up maybe into a new build. So for 2025, we're very optimistic about what's going on, especially around the London area. London is a great draw. It's a great city, and a lot of people are coming here.
Adam, what are your thoughts when you guys have been in the acquisition or projects? Where do you see the puck is going, and where do you guys?
Yeah, I think a lot of what we focus on is infill projects. Now, whether that's downtown, I mean, we do a lot of stuff in the core, and certainly in some aspects, it's very desirable to be down there, walk to restaurants, walk to Canada Life Place, that sort of thing. But we also look at infill amongst the different kind of urban nodes or major commercial centers within the city. So whether it's in the Masonville area, whether it's in the Byron area, that sort of thing. So I think there is going to be a bit of a push for that from our perspective, and it doesn't have to be massive intensification. It's not, 25 stories in the heart of Byron or something, but, the key London plan, if people are familiar with kind of what the City of London has put together their planning department, it's sort of a gradual, build inwards a little bit and upwards versus, on the outskirts. Obviously, you still need to be building everywhere. But from our perspective, we try to do some of that sensitive attentive infill. And so I do see there be a little bit of a market for that for sure. And then just in terms of general, I guess, market sentiment, is it a good time to buy? I think definitely prices have compressed a little bit over the last couple of years. Obviously, no one, builders included, real estate agents included, mortgage brokers not included, don't want to go back to the craziness of the 2021 or whatever it was. I think prices are a little more just, at the proper spot they should be at now. They've come down over a little bit from that craziness, which I think no one wants. But then mortgage rates have come down. So it just adds to the affordability. So I think there is an opportunity right now to, for the homeowner, prospective homeowner to kind of capitalize on that.
Yeah, that makes a lot. From a capital deployment perspective, when these guys are calling you for funding, say, how are you looking at, how they're building their product versus access to capital? Does that factor in terms of what are they building, where are they building it, how sure are you that you guys are going to get paid? What was that like?
So are we talking that when the developer calls or the homeowner calls?
A developer more so. Like I'm saying, yeah, the project in Lucan we were speaking about recently.
Well, and I think it's super important for the consumer if they're going to be making sure you're working with reputable developers, because on the financing side, the new guys, it's hard to get in. If you're not experienced, established builder developer with a track record, the financing has gotten very, very tight for this beer. It's not that there's not options for somebody new. They could look at private financing. We have solutions for those people to get in. But if you're a consumer who's going to buy a new stretch boat, you want to make sure you're working with a pro company who's got the financing on the back end to make sure your product can be delivered. So there's certainly options. There's certainly everyone can participate, but if you're going to buy, make sure you're working with a pro.
I think that was a master class, and anybody who wants to watch the replay, because I talk really fast, these guys have a little bit of a better cadence than I do. It will be on the Prime People podcast, and you can go to the Halcyon booth after. We're all going to be hanging out in there. It's going to have time for Q&A, but we're running out of time here. If you guys have any questions for these guys, you'd like to meet them and connect, there's coffee. I believe there's a chef experience. They built a house in this event, so we'll meet you guys all in there, and thanks for taking the time to listen to our little segment. Thank you.
What's going on, guys? Rob James here from Prime Real Estate. We're at our Prime Real Estate booth here at the London Lifestyle Home Show. We've been here all 3 days. It's been an absolute blast, meeting tons of people. And if you're in the neighborhood, come check us out.
Nobody wants to be sold, but everybody loves shopping with friends. I think one of my favorite things at these events are when people are walking by booths and you make eye contact. It feels like you're at a store and they're trying to sell you something. So everybody quickly says, I'm not in the market, and then runs away. Our team is very different. The interactions we had were with people that didn't realize they maybe were in the market, or there were different ways that we could help them. So really made some incredible connections, and thankful for our community. And then last but not least, shout out to our incredible builder partner, Halcyon. What they did with their booth was one of the most incredible activations we have ever seen to date. The level of care in building it, and the chef experience, and just how they interacted. I mean, world class and inspiring, to say the least. You know, we have so many different partners across so many different asset classes. This is definitely a relationship that we cherish. And shout out to Chef Chad Stewart. You definitely put on a show. If you made it this far, thank you. I really appreciate you, really. Hit me in the comments. Let me know what you think about where real estate is headed, and I'll be in there. And if you're into this kind of stuff, stick around. We are just getting started.